There's a pattern in finance that has destroyed countless economies throughout history. And right now, in this very moment, your country is somewhere on that exact same path. Stage by stage, policy by policy, almost like we're rereading from a script that has led to financial ruin every single time before. It's a process that starts so slowly you barely notice it. A gentle warmth that feels good at first. But it's not a gentle warmth. It's the water slowly coming to a boil, and you're the frog. Most people want to realize they were being cooked alive until it is as far too late. This isn't a story about some far-off theoretical economic model. This is the story of how your money dies. It's a 7-level journey from stability to chaos, a path walked by nations rich and poor, ancient and modern. From the Roman Empire debasing its currency to the Weimar Republic printing bills with a wheelbarrow, the sequence is always eerily similar. And here's what should concern you. Many Western nations have already completed the first 2 levels and are now wrestling with the third. We're not just approaching the pattern, we're living inside it. This is the story of the 7 levels of inflation, why governments always think they can control it, and why the math says it will eventually consume everything. And it's happening faster than the experts want to admit. Level 1 is where it all begins. Creeping inflation. This is the zone of 2 to 3% annual price increases. Your central bankers and political leaders will tell you this is the goal. They call it healthy. They'll use phrases like price stability and encouraging investment. They'll tell you that a little bit of inflation is necessary to keep the economic engine humming, to prevent the supposed evils of deflation. But this is the foundational lie. It's the first dose of a drug designed to feel good. At this level, the effects are almost invisible. A coffee that was $3 last year might be $3.09 this year. You don't notice. Your salary might even get a small cost of living adjustment that almost keeps pace. So you feel like you're treading water, or maybe even getting ahead. The system seems to be working. But what's really happening is the slow, systematic erosion of your savings. Every dollar you put away is losing a little bit of its future buying power, year after year. It's a silent tax. A wealth transfer from the savers to the debtors, primarily the government itself, which is the biggest debtor of all. This isn't an accident, it's a feature of the system. They are addicted to debt, and inflation is the easiest way to pay it back with cheaper, devalued money. They need this level to survive, but it's a level that can never be permanently maintained. It's the start of the slide. Then you slip into level 2, walking inflation. This is when the numbers on the official report start to hit 3 to 7%. It's no longer an abstract percentage on a news broadcast. It's a concrete reality at the checkout counter. Your weekly grocery bill starts to sting. The price at the gas pump makes you wince. You start to have conversations with your spouse or friends saying, "Is it just me, or is everything getting really expensive?" Suddenly, you're making small, conscious changes. Maybe you buy the generic brand instead of the one you like. Maybe you cancel a streaming service or skip going out to eat. The illusion of stability begins to crack. At this stage, the authorities will start to talk more. The central bank will issue statements. They'll say it's transitory. They'll blame supply chain disruptions, a war in a distant country, or corporate greed. They will do anything but point the finger at the real culprit, the relentless expansion of the money supply. They might raise interest rates by 1/4 of a point here, a 1/2 a point there, trying to look like they're in control. But these are token gestures. They are too afraid of causing a recession to do what's actually necessary. They are trying to tame a lion with a water pistol. Your wages are now definitely not keeping up. Your savings are losing value at a rate that is now obvious and painful. The sense of unease starts to set in. From there, the ground gives way to level 3. Running inflation. We're now in the 7 to 15% range. This is where the game fundamentally changes. The pain is no longer a dull ache. It's a sharp, constant throb. Your savings are now being visibly destroyed in real time. A dollar saved at the beginning of the year can buy 10 to 15% less by the end of it. The very idea of saving money in a bank account becomes a guaranteed losing proposition. People start to flee from cash. They desperately search for anything that might hold its value. Real estate, stocks, gold, cryptocurrencies. This creates massive speculative bubbles in asset markets, making the economy even more unstable. The psychology of the population shifts from long-term planning to short-term survival. Buy it now because it will be more expensive tomorrow becomes the mantra. This behavior in turn accelerates the inflation itself, creating a dangerous feedback loop. The government and central bank are now in a full-blown panic. They'll start talking tough, announcing more aggressive interest rate hikes. But the political will to inflict the necessary pain, a deep cleansing recession, is almost never there. They'll try price controls, which have failed every single time they've been tried in 4,000 years of history, leading only to shortages and black markets. Social unrest begins to simmer. People are angry. They know something is deeply wrong. They are losing faith in their leaders and the institutions that are supposed to protect them. Next is the terrifying acceleration into level 4, galloping inflation. We're talking about 15 to 50% a year. At this point, the currency itself begins to lose all credibility. The feedback loop is now a raging inferno. Prices don't just go up every month, you can see a noticeable difference week to week. Contracts and salaries start to be indexed to inflation, meaning they automatically adjust upwards. This sounds like a solution, but it's just pouring gasoline on the fire, locking in the inflationary spiral. Your entire economic life becomes a frantic race against the clock. Your paycheck loses a chunk of its value before you even have a chance to spend it. People stop making long-term business investments. Why build a factory that takes 2 years to complete when you have no idea what the currency will be worth or if it will even exist by then? The economy shifts entirely to short-term speculation. The stock market might go up in nominal terms, but it's a mirage. In real terms, measured against a stable asset like gold, everything is collapsing. Foreign investors flee, dumping your country's currency and bonds, causing its value to plummet on the international stage. This makes imports astronomically expensive, feeding the inflation even more. The country is now visibly impoverished and isolated. Level 5 is when the nightmare truly begins. Hyperinflation. The official threshold is typically 50% per month, but we can think of it as anything from 50% to 100% per year and beyond. Here, the very fabric of society begins to tear apart. Prices don't just change by the week, they change by the day, sometimes by the hour. A restaurant might change the prices on its menu between lunch and dinner. People rush to spend any money they get the second they receive it, on anything they can find, just to convert the rapidly melting currency into a tangible good. The concept of a price tag becomes meaningless. Bartering starts to reappear. People trade cigarettes for bread or gasoline for medicine. Your life savings, your pension, everything you worked your entire life to build is completely wiped out. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. The government is now completely discredited. It might try introducing new banknotes with more and more zeros on them. A $100,000 bill, then $1 million, then $1 billion. But it's a joke. No one wants the currency. It has become a symbol of failure and betrayal. This leads inexorably to level 6, the currency death spiral. We are now in the territory of Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, and Venezuela. Inflation rates of 1,000% or more. The numbers become so absurd they lose all meaning. In Zimbabwe, they printed a $100 trillion bill, which at the time was barely enough to buy a loaf of bread. The currency is now completely and utterly dead. It is rejected by everyone. Store shelves are empty. Not because there are no goods, but because no one will accept the official currency as payment. People use foreign currencies like the US dollar, or they revert to a primitive barter system. The formal economy ceases to exist. Life becomes a daily struggle for survival. Crime skyrockets. The middle class is erased, liquidated more effectively than by any revolution. The political system is in chaos. This is the stage of total systemic failure. The old currency is abandoned. It's either officially repudiated by the government or simply falls into disuse. A new system must be born from the ashes. This can take several forms. Sometimes a new currency is introduced, often backed by a hard asset like gold, to restore public faith. This was the case with the German Rentenmark, which ended the Weimar hyperinflation. Other times, the country officially dollarizes, abandoning its own currency and adopting a stable foreign one. But this reset is not a clean slate. It happens after an entire generation's wealth has been annihilated. It comes after immense social suffering, political upheaval, and a breakdown of trust that can take decades to repair. The economic devastation is absolute. A new foundation must be built, but it is built upon the ruins of the old. Once a country embarks on the path of currency debasement, the end of the road always looks like this. And right now, the engine is running, and the car is moving faster than anyone wants to admit.